I'm in Barcelona at Mobile World Congress. I'm here with Howard Watson, BT's Chief Networks and Security Officer. Is it the other way around?
It's the other way around, Ian, but you're forgiven.
Howard, nice to see you again.
Good to see you.
So I wanted to pick up on a few things being discussed here. I mean, there's some sort of alarmist messages, I guess, coming from big figures in the industry. Orange's CEO saying this isn't sustainable in terms of how much investment we're making and we need to see some changes. I think there was a survey she referred to where CEOs were even worried that their companies would still exist in a decade. And we've had Ericsson's boss kind of saying, Europe's not in a great state in terms of its telecom industry. I mean, from for someone on the technology side at the top level, what's your perspective on this? Is it a kind of worrying time for the industry?
I mean, my perspective is, if you look at usage, so a couple of weeks ago we had 29.2 terabits per second on the network. If I go back to just before COVID started, that was 16. So almost a doubling in 3 years. So we have a great product, and customers love it and demand it. But do we get the returns from that? And you've heard us talk before about, for the price of a coffee a day, you can get great broadband. So I do think the industry needs a correction. And that's what I'm hearing here at the show this week. Yeah, and
there's this argument about fair share, which has been quite controversial. I know it's a big thing in Europe in particular. Is there, are there similar sort of feelings on the, outside the EU as we are now? Are there sort of similar feelings about that?
I mean, as you say, fair share is a European conversation. We've welcomed the fact that Ofcom have been consulting with industry around net neutrality. Net neutrality remains critical and important. It's what the internet's founded upon. But what has changed since that time is 7 or 8 large providers, really covering most of the traffic or a large share of the traffic. And we want to have a conversation, or to be able to stimulate a conversation, which is how can we use that traffic or make sure that traffic lands efficiently. So I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, 29.2 terabits per second. The reason it was that high was Call of Duty was launched at the same time as 2 Champions League games, at the same time as Amazon streamed a Premier League game. And so, a collision of high volume events meant we had a peak on the network 3 terabits per second higher than previously, and we have to pay for that. And we do continue to grow the network like that. We continue to make sure customers get a great experience. But if we could be more efficient, and what the main thing I'm asking for in the short to medium term is, let's work together to think about how efficiently we can have that traffic arrive at the network, then I think that's good for everybody.
Yeah, and I guess just to be clear, fair share is about the idea that the big kind of content companies, I guess, make some kind of financial contribution to the build out of networks. But I mean, to play devil's advocate, I guess they might say, your customers pay you, they're the originators of the traffic. Most of these operators are still profitable, and you've coped with the 29 terabits very well from the work that you've done. So what would you sort of say in response to that kind of pushback?
Well, I mean, what I'm asking them is, please, let's have a conversation. Don't always say, but net neutrality means. Let's at least have a conversation about how we can efficiently take your great content and deliver it to customers alongside everybody else's in a way that's good for all parties.
And the net neutrality debate, which I think there's a consultation on this going on in the UK, would this, I mean, if you had clearer rules about that, would it allow you to do different things in terms of network innovation perhaps, and help you to monetize some of the new services that are being offered on the network?
I think the innovation side, it's generally accepted that it won't be a barrier. So, the ability to have a 5G network slice that provides low latency, high quality of service, and to charge a premium for that to all people who want to use it in a fair, neutral way, is something that's essentially we can already do that. This is more generally about efficient use of traffic arriving on the network.
Yeah, and maybe just to finish off, I mean, 5G, which is obviously always a big topic at MWC, I mean, can you just give us a quick sort of status update on where BT is now in terms of population coverage and what the next steps are for rollout?
Yeah, great progress. We've now exceeded 60% population coverage. We're in line for that commitment we made that by 2028 we'll have gone beyond the geographic coverage of 4G, and will make 5G available to anybody on demand if they're not naturally covered by it. So if you're in a rural area and you're about to have an event we'll have solutions that get 5G to you, maybe satellite, because I'm seeing quite a lot of movement there as opportunities. So I think, non-terrestrial networks, as the 3GPP are calling it in the later issues, there's some opportunities through that. We are now well through our core migration, so that enables 5G standalone, and that allows us to do the ultra-reliable, low-latency services and the massive machine-to-machine. And it's great to see this week at the show some of those enterprise use cases, starting to be featured highly here.
Yeah, great. Okay, thanks very much for joining me, Howard.
Thanks, Ian.